Hi guys, I'm back. Today we're going to be discussing pirated decks, or counterfeit decks as they're called. As you know, in the tarot community, there's a lot of decks, thousands of decks, and it's very hard to navigate around them. We can go to a shop and try to purchase one and then realize when we get home that we've bought the wrong thing. I have fallen victim to this too. I've gone and bought a deck, came home, unwrapped it, and realized that the deck is flimsy, that the cards are not of a good card stock. And I've wondered what is going on and why did the person do this? Why did the creator come up with such a bad product? Well, throughout time, I realized that what's happening is decks are being pirated. How they are being pirated, there are many ways that they are doing this. Some people are scanning the images and then reprinting the decks. And some, we've come to believe that at times the decks are being ripped off with files from printers and reprinted. Some of us believe that. Obviously, we have no proof for this, so I will say that there is no proof. The only proof that we have, or we think we have, is that the printed boxes are very well done in the sense of layout and how they are being laid out, that are very similar to the original decks, but the quality is much lower. We don't know what printers are doing them. Decks are being printed everywhere, and a lot of the decks that are US creators that are creating them are sending them overseas to print. The reasons for this is because if we print decks in the US, they're much more expensive. So the prices for the decks would go higher. If we print them outside of the US, then the decks are going to be cheaper in terms of printing, and we can sell them at a reasonable price. So decks are being printed anywhere from Europe to China, and then being shipped to the creator and also to the publishers. The publishers do this too. They do not necessarily print in the United States. They print outside of the United States. So this is how the decks are printed. There are obviously two types of decks that are being created. You have indie deck creators who are creating the product and selling the products themselves from their own websites. And then there's decks that are through publishers that are picked up by publishers and printed by the publishers. And then, shops and people will go to the publisher, order wholesale, and take it into their stores. Sometimes small shops, and that can be from a local shop to an online shop, will purchase wholesale decks from sites that will sell counterfeit decks. You can kind of tell because of the prices that they're being listed at. If they're listed at $1, $3, you know that is a counterfeit deck. A lot of the websites that are selling these counterfeit decks are listing hundreds of decks, so you can kind of tell when you go looking. I will be referencing my own decks for this online search because I know them, I know how they're created, and I can tell that they are ripped off. However, there are some other artists that have been going through this. Chris Donnelly that's created the Lightseers Tarot, Cyril Marchetti, who's had like a bunch of decks that have been stolen, Lisa Hunt. So it's happening to everybody. It's not just for me, and it's affecting us all. So my decks that I'll be focusing on are these two decks, just for references so we can kind of understand. This is the Tarot of the Abyss, which is published through US Games. So it is a two-part box with a guidebook. And this you can purchase from US Games. They also sell wholesale, and sometimes shops will come and they'll get the wholesale, but it is a two-part box with a book. Then there's the Clair de Lune Lenormand. This is the second edition. It has a tree on it and the moon on the back. Lenormand, this one had a first edition, and this was the first edition, and I'm showing this because it's going to show up online and you'll understand why. And to understand that we can't always tell the difference, right? You go in, you see the deck, and you can't tell the difference. You bring it home, obviously, I've mentioned this, it happens to everybody. So I'm not putting any blame on people who have no idea what they're buying. Again, it's very hard to point fingers, and I'm not going to do that. I will say that it's happening everywhere online, and the issue is you need to know what to look for in order to not get duped. I've seen decks published in Europe. I've seen decks from Russia. I've seen decks published in China that are being stolen. So it's everywhere. If artists were to print more in the US, I bet you we'd have many more decks being ripped off from the US printers. Mostly because if there's somebody who wants to make a quick buck, they will sell the file. So ill intentions can be anywhere, and it can happen from any direction. We just have to know how to protect against them. I'm going to show you the video of how I searched for the decks and the keywords that I looked for, and then we can go from there. Okay, so I'm doing a search for the Clair de Lune Lenormand deck. This is my personal deck. I am the only one who sells it in my shop. Obviously, the ones that are listed here are all fakes. You can see that it has Clair de Lune Lenormand at AliExpress, and it is listed for $1.28. That is not possible, folks. It has 47 orders. Now, that's not a lot, but it adds up. The box itself is not the right one. They faked the box. So they did a different image on the box itself. It's shipping from China to the United States. And here is the important thing. It says, we do wholesale and drop shipping and have a PDF guidebook or QR code. That is not true. You will not receive any of these QR codes. And the thing is, if you message the artist, they will not give you the QR code. Let's do another search for the Tarot of the Abyss. This deck is also my deck, and it's actually printed with US games. And this here is also a fake deck. How do I know this? Well, it says we do wholesale and drop shipping, and again, a PDF guidebook available. The deck itself comes with an actual book. It has 69 customer reviews, which look to be great. But again, you're purchasing a fake deck with no book. And instead of an actual box, a two-piece box, you're getting a very poorly constructed box. And, you know, these decks here are again sold at AliExpress, and they're being shipped from China. And also the Clair de Lune Lenormand, like I mentioned, right here you see it again for $4. And obviously there's a lot more decks that are sold that I know are not real decks. This particular one is only having like 11 sales. And, you know, it's saying, again, it's mainland China. There's been ones that are sold also from other countries. So China is obviously not the only one that's selling them. But please be aware that all of these decks that you see here are actual fakes. I mean, look at the prices. Okay, so we're at walmart.com, and there's a number of decks listed here. Let's see if they're true. Remember, this is a US Games deck, and it is printed with a book and a 2-part box. This here is a tuck box, so obviously this deck is a fake. And I believe they actually have the files, because the way that it's printed tells me that they actually have the printer files. I don't know how. Again, I might be wrong, but this is just my take on it. It's listed as $11, which is very low. It says that the deck is a richly illustrated tarot deck featuring mythological creatures and nature-based symbols. Again, that's not the description that it has. And it has 78 pieces, meaning 78 cards. The deck has 80 cards, folks. It has 2 additional cards. Also, you can see that it's saying it has 1 box of tarot deck cards, and that it comes with a QR code and an instructional manual in PDF form. That is not true. It comes with a book. And let's check this one out. This one is listed at $16. And it has a little tiny printed book, but it's not the actual one. You can also see this is a tuck box. And the book itself that's printed is a white book with no cover. This also is a fake one. Now it's coming from this place here, which I will not attempt to pronounce because I know I will butcher it. And I'm going to do a search to see where that is. So the product parameter, it's giving you pretty much what it's, the size. It says funny game cards for family party and a social game. Any legit tarot seller will not have that description for a tarot deck. And I'm going to again check to see where this place is located. And this is what's coming up. Again, it's listing at Alibaba. So the place where this is being shipped from is Alibaba. So do your homework before you buy these decks, because you're getting a low quality product, and I don't think that that is something that you want. Okay, so to recap, we can pay attention to the listing, make sure that it's listing as a deck with a book if it needs to have a book, the number of cards that need to be in there. If it's from an indie creator, make sure that you go to indie creator website and see if they are offering a QR code. Most likely they're going to be offering a PDF, because QR codes, you will only be receiving, I haven't seen it yet, to be honest. Most of us will send a PDF of the guidebook if it's an indie deck. Publishers will not give you QR codes or PDFs because they will print the book. And that is just something that I have yet to see. The other thing is, online, on YouTube, you do see a lot of unboxings. So if you do go on YouTube and you'd like to see your favorite deck and make sure that you're getting the deck that's good for you, and you want to see all the cards, that's great, that's fine. It's an awesome resource to go to. Just keep in mind that sometimes people will purchase decks that are fakes, and they will do unboxings like I found here. And it's a shame, because then you see a lot of people going to the website and purchasing more fake decks. If you're going to do a YouTube video and showcase the product, you should showcase the actual product and not a counterfeit deck. I have not found any YouTube videos that will kind of come out and say, yes, this is a fake deck. I doubt that they know. If they do know, it's just unfortunate. In the end, I hope this video has been informative, And it's a little bit of an eye-opener in terms of what's going on and how to better protect yourself and get the deck that you really want and not be duped. At the same time, you are also helping us creators and the publishers, and being aware is the first step. If you do want to purchase something that is a little cheaper and you can't afford the full price decks right now, you could always go to a place like Tarot Marketplace on Facebook. They offer a ton of decks. Most of the time, people will buy the deck, they bring it home, they can't connect with it. For some reason, they just don't want it anymore. They will resell them there. Most of the decks that are resold there are almost brand new. Sometimes they're just opened out of the box, and they are much cheaper. And you get a good product for a lower price, but it's the actual product. You should always look at the listing, even then. Make sure that the deck comes with a book if it needs to. Make sure that the cards are the ones that you're expecting. And just remember that it's up to you. And if there is no market for counterfeit decks, they won't be printed anymore. So help us out, and hopefully we can do this together and make sure that we're getting what we want. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please put them below. I will try to answer them, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.